We're installing really big detention tank for our backyard. 60 feet long. Guys did a really nice job. Look at this beautiful uniform perforations throughout. Guys hand drilled all these perforations. Did a really nice job. I really enjoyed making this video. There are a lot of Easter eggs in this one. It was 107 video files. Took 2 days to edit, a day to shoot, 3 days of my life tied up into it, and I had a blast. It's a really good video. If you don't know where to take your sump pump discharge line or your roof runout system. 60-foot tank, beautiful detention tank. You can see what the yard was like before this tank was in. You see that right there? It looks like there's like an oil spill. That's telling me that water's coming up. There's minerals in the water. Every time you take a scoop of dirt out, there's that much more capacity for water. The homeowner wants to keep the dirt. His wife said that he shouldn't give dirt away. I think she just made a lot of work for him, but I tried to advise against it. When you scoop that dirt up, you need to haul it away. So you can see some groundwater in here already. You can see how there's a layer of topsoil before you get to the clay. I want to take this opportunity now in this video to praise my men. This 7-man crew nailed this job. It was absolutely perfect. They always amaze, and I appreciate them more than they know. This home has a walkout basement and there is no indoor sump pump. It does have a foundation drain and it gravity drains into the backyard. The downspouts also drain into the backyard. This low area that's cut out for the walkout basement ends up really saturated, and it's a problem. The water from the foundation drain went to an outdoor sump pump pit that's literally right at the back door. And that just pumps it into this area. So it's not doing anything for the yard. Just the yard is absolutely saturated. They have 6 dogs, 6 golden retrievers just running through the mud, living life, having a good old time, and just making life difficult for the homeowner. We're going to dry this up. We're going to tighten this yard up. We want to run 60-foot detention tank. This is going to give us an opportunity to not only hold a lot of water, but to leach a lot of water. When you have a surface that is not as permeable as, say, sand or sand and gravel, and you're working in clay. Now, this isn't heavy clay for where we work in Michigan. Where we work in Michigan, we have several different types of clay. The grayish blue clay is the absolute worst. I'm really happy to be in this clay. The total length of dig was 70 feet. The detention tank itself will be 60 feet, and it's 24 inches in diameter. We're going to have manifolds on both ends. The homeowner's going to have options. We tied the roof runoff system and the foundation drain along with a yard drain into this detention tank. On the other end, there's going to be an area where they can drop in the pump so that they can run a water feature. Somebody sold the homeowner 55-gallon drum dry wells. But what they really did is they cut the 55-gallon drum and they only put it in. There's like a third of a 55-gallon drum here. And here's the bottom of it. And they just made some holes in the top because they were cutting them up. That's it. That's all they gave the homeowner. What drives me nuts about the industry that I work in is there's so many guys on the take. So what ends up happening when the guys do this and they take the money that was budgeted to fix the water problem and then they, basically screw the homeowner. There's another piece. Look at that. That's not even half of a 55-gallon drum. But if you went to work and you paid some guy to put in 55-gallon drums, he said he was going to put in all these dry wells and fix your water problem, and then you come home and all you can see is the top of them and he had cut them. So what I hate is that these guys screw up the budget. Then when I come in to do it right, the homeowner done pissed away how many thousands of dollars on some con artist. It's unfortunate. It's sad. But I see it all the time. People say, oh, you're kind of expensive. Really? Because I actually do what I tell you I'm going to do, and I bring in all this material, all this equipment, and all this labor. You want it done right the first time. And if a guy's too cheap, there's a reason. He's taking it out of the job. So I know everybody's looking for budget friendly, but you got to be realistic. To move all this dirt and to haul in all this material and stone, you have all this machinery in motion and all this. Look at all the man hours here. There's 7 men on site. So we're going to put in a 24-inch detention tank, and then on each end we're going to have a place to put a pump. We're going to have this thing fully closed off. There's no reason you need to get in it for any reason at all. You do not need to get in it. So for safety reasons, We want where the pump is dropped in a 12-inch versus a 24. These were supposed to be whole 55-gallon drums. The homeowner thought he had 5 dry wells that were whole 55-gallon drums. Google reviews, Google reviews, Google reviews. If they don't have Google reviews, do not hire the contractor. Contractors, be prepared for a lot of haul out or just a lot of digging if you're not hauling it out. If you don't have 2 front end loaders and a mini excavator, rent it. Go into this job equipped. 7 men, fully equipped. This took a full day. The guys got in late. It was a big day. It was a lot of digging. Our 7th man, that's not in the video, is running stone. Right now he's running loads of stone. Out front, we're piling up stone. This is what we call a mistake in my business. The homeowner's wife told him to not haul off the dirt, to keep the dirt. And I said, for what? Do you guys have a legitimate spot that you need dirt for? No. So now you're going to have to create a berm or something somewhere. And now you're going to create another water problem, perhaps? This wasn't the husband's idea. This was the wife's idea. You don't give dirt away, she said. So now she just made a ridiculously big mess and project for the husband. I don't know, man. I try to protect people from themselves, and I said, just let us haul it away. That's going to be a mistake. And in all honesty, the husband agreed with me. But what's he going to do? These fabric are 15 foot by 15 foot. It's easy to work with. It's easy to handle. They are 4 ounce. Did I happen to mention yet that putting in a detention tank in a clay backyard is a lot of digging? The reason why the detention tanks are bigger in a clay yard is you need to leach it over more area. Clay has a low permeability. On this end of the detention tank, we're going to have a manifold. We want to tie in the roof runoff system and the foundation drain to the home, along with a yard drain. Because this is a clay backyard, we want to leach the water over a large area. If it was sand, you could do a lot smaller detention tank. Because you're going to be leaching the water, you're going to be able to distribute the water into the subsurface soil much quicker. Well, that's not the case here. The clay runs for 17 feet. 17 feet deep is how deep the clay is. Then you do hit a sand vein in this area, But the problem is, you're in the water table. You've been in the water table. Probably ended up in the water table at 6 or 7 feet. Clay is much slower to absorb water than sand or gravel. So this is going to work really well. We're over 70 feet. Think about that. 70 feet when you look at the manifolds on both ends of this detention tank. We're going to be able to leach that water over 70 feet into this slow percolating soil that is clay. Vertical drains do not work in clay. If you work in a region that has clay that runs deep, a vertical drain is not going to work for you. Con men will sell you some vertical drains, and they'll take your money if you're not careful. We want to put a fabric down, a really good fabric, a 4-ounce double punched fabric that separates the soil from our system. We don't want the soil to plug all the voids in the drainage stone. We want a fully encapsulated system where we wrap all the stone and the system as one. Always put a layer of stone on your non-woven geotextile filter fabric that's been double punched. You want to put your detention tank on about 4 inches of stone. You don't want the mud to come up and work its way into your detention tank because we have all these holes in the detention tank. Unlike a French drain that's flowing water and can carry small particles of clay away, this tank is always going to be holding water and stagnant. Every precautionary measure has been taken so that this detention tank is working for however long that house is standing. Most of our detention tanks and leach fields are always level. This is close to level. It's off just a little because we want it to have an overflow on the end that's furthest from the house. It's a fail-safe measure that we put in place. Now, this next point is really important. Most people put inlets in the top of their detention tanks, and they fill them full of garbage and debris. Don't do that. Put a collection system for the surface water that's separate. We are running a separate pipe. It's a 10-inch pipe, and we have sumps. Everywhere there's an inlet, there is a sump. That way, all the debris that is collected from the surface ends up in the sump. By the time this makes it to the detention tank on a 6-inch line, we filtered out all those heavy fines. We're going to show you all the connections to this manifold. We're going to show you all the different things that you need to know so that you do this right. If you don't hook these up right, if you have the wrong connection, if you don't have the right height at which you come in to your detention tank, it's going to cause you all kinds of problems in the long run. Here's all the sizes that we used. We have a 24-inch detention tank with a 12-inch riser because of the pump size that we like to use on a tank like this. We have a 10-inch pipe with all the inlets. We run that down to the 6-inch tie-in to this manifold. We filter out all the contamination so that we can protect this detention tank, and it's going to stand the test of time. You can thank one of my subscribers or one of our subscribers because YouTube is a community. and we're all sharing our knowledge. We're all trying to educate one another. We're learning from one another. But I had a subscriber say, do you install detention tanks? How do you feel about detention tanks? And I told him I'd make him a video the next time we installed one of our detention tanks. Right here is an indoor sump pump pit outdoors. Never do this. This is something that only hacks do. Do not use a small indoor sump pit outdoors like this. It's such a liability.
Is it really?
Yeah. Socked pipe does not protect you from clay. Clay particles are so small, the minerals in rock and clay are the smallest particles that you're going to find in any soil. So that drain was plugged, unfortunately. One side of the foundation drain was plugged.
So once we get to grade, we're going to put the solid cover. Once we get to grade, we're going to cut this down to grade, put the solid cover on. If this detention tank ever fills, say we just go through a thaw of a foot of snow along with warm weather that's causing the thaw and brings 2 inches of rain, there is a place to pump this to. It's highly unlikely that the homeowner is going to need to do that, but we are setting him up to where he has a place to drop in. He actually could drop a pump in on either end of this giant detention tank. We'll do a stack over here and get this to grade. So right off the 24-inch diameter detention tank, we have a 12. We're just going to come to grade with that, put a solid cover on it. Now the homeowner can run a pipe up over this berm and pump it on the other side of the fence, and he's got fall. But he won't need to. It'd be extreme cases. I don't foresee it. I'm curious to know if he ever has to do it in a full year. Like, we have a rainy season in the spring, we got a rainy season in the fall, we have a January thaw, we have a February thaw here in Michigan. It's going to be interesting to see if he ever even has to drop a pump in. But in the event that he does, we're going to like prep it for that. And that could just be something that if he has to do it seasonally once a year, he can do. Again, I don't foresee it, but you go through all this trouble to build something elaborate. You know, I like to have all the fail safes. Think about all the failure modes. Prepare for the worst. 100-year storm. Get a 100-year storm. Well, now you got 6 inches of rain that falls in one night.
Another Easter egg. Do not take your foundation drain all the way to the bottom of your detention tank. Keep it as high as you possibly can. Yes, you have to have a little bit of slope, but do not get too deep. If this fills up, you don't want it to backfeed into your foundation drain. We have a leaf filter to catch any leaves. We have a catch basin to catch any sediment. We don't want to fill our detention tank with any roof debris. We took every precautionary measure we possibly could. You can see there's a conduit in this trench. We're also running the electric all the way to the far end, 75 feet to the back of the yard. Really enjoyed this job. I have a lot of fun doing jobs that are not the ordinary. Anything that's just different, sign us up. We love something that just breaks the monotony of yard drainage. Just a standard old French drain and a swale to a storm drain kind of puts us to sleep. This was fun. Really enjoyed this job, had a good time. If you need a detention tank in Michigan, give us a call. A really big detention system is 2 pipes that are 30 inches in diameter. They really hold a lot of water. You can see the tie-in. You can see the anatomy of what we did here. Really clean job. Gotta definitely tip my hat to my crew. Look how high that tie-in is. I froze it so you can see it. Look how high that tie-in is. See how it drops down to the detention area? That way the water can't backfeed to the house. You have to be smart. You got to think about water backfeeding. If a contractor pitches an indoor sump pump pit for the outdoors, throw him off your property. He's going to mess up the allowance for the job. When you want it done right the first time, don't hire a hack, hire a real contractor. We built a massive French drain. We have the foundation water running into this system. We have all the water coming from the high ground. Both sides of this walkout basement, you have water coming in to that low point. We want to collect it. We want to gather it. I want to make sure that I have a pipe that's going to be able to handle all that water and the foundation water as well. Now, 2 4-inch pipes would have been enough, but all the different parts that we had for our manifold were for 6-inch. So that was just convenience, and it was what we had in our yard. As crazy as it sounds, we have a big pipe yard, and we fed out of our inventory.
Man, we're going through the stone like government welfare checks. I'm falling down into the abyss.
Did I mention you're going to need a lot of stone when you're doing a project like this? You're going to want to use small stone too, because you got to knife the stone underneath the culvert pipes. You can't leave a big hollow spot. You want to get the stone to support the pipe. Remember in the beginning of this video, I mentioned that the 7th man was trucking stone and piling it up out front? You're going to see all that stone. The way we build our detention tanks are so that they have a high evaporation rate. You want to always have a detention tank set up to where it's leaching water and evaporating water, so there's always capacity for when you need it. Look at this attention to detail. We're putting this yard right back together, and it's a lot better than how we found it. Remember, it was just a muddy mess when we pulled in here. Pay close attention to the stone that we're using. It has really small pea stone in it, and it's as large as 1.5 inches, but it's a lot of really small round rock. It's round rock, it's not crushed stone. We don't want an angular stone. We want stone that's going to be like a bunch of marbles. We want to get the stone under these culvert pipes. It's going to support them. Make sure to knife your stone under these culvert pipes, always. When you're putting in a culvert pipe, I don't care what it is you're putting a culvert pipe in for, when you're packing it in stone, make sure that you knife the stone to get the stone under the culvert pipe. The small round rock will do most of the work for you. That's what's really nice about using small round rock. Again, I'd like to emphasize you're going to need a lot of stone. Just like I emphasized, you're going to be digging out a lot of dirt. This is a big dirt project and a big stone project. It used to be only excavation companies would do this type of work, but they'd leave your sprinkler system and your turf grass and everything a mess, and they'd say, call a landscaper. When we came into the scene, we had all this landscape experience, and we brought this full restoration to life. We leave virtually no footprint and typically leave a property better than we had found it. Another great visual of knifing stone under a culvert pipe. Now watch, once there's no more, void underneath the culvert pipe, and it's packed completely. It's solid. You can tell when the shovel's hitting it. All those marbles have packed all the voids. It's like sand in an hourglass.
And pipe. You can see on this end, you can see how tall the risers are, and you can see the embankment and how high this is. You put them in relatively level. A lot of them we do put in level. With the walkout basement like this, we got just a little bit a drop this way. That way this fills up first. It's kind of a fail-safe. We got the electrical conduit right here. We got this stack is for a pump if needed. And then we got inlets. You can see how this isn't as high. So we call this sandy loam. What we do is we get some sand and we get some topsoil, and then we mix it up. We actually typically you go to a local landscape yard, tell them put a load of sand in, put a bucket of sand in, put a bucket of topsoil on top of that. You know, we have our ratios. This one was 3 buckets of sand to 2 buckets of topsoil, and we're going to put this on our very final layer. We'll put a little layer of this over our system. That way we can grow grass. We can put grass seed down and then put some straw over the grass seed. We'll be successful at having a nice turf grass for the homeowner.
Always put some stone on top of your fabric if you're trying to get a lot of surface water. If you suspect you're going to need good infiltration to take in surface water, you're going to want to do this. We're going to maximize the flow rate of our non-woven geotextile filter fabric that's been double punched. Once we complete that layer of stone on top of the fabric, we then want to put sand on top of the stone. Now this doesn't have any topsoil in it. This is straight sand. We're going to leave it a little shallow, so at the very end, we can add a little bit of that sandy loam where we have the topsoil mixed in with the sand. That way we can grow grass on this. We're building this so that we have the highest infiltration rate. We want to be able to take in surface water. We probably will not ever call on those inlets unless it's all froze up in the wintertime. That's what the inlets are really there for. I've seen certain weather conditions, freeze thaw, icing, leave you in a situation where you lose infiltration. But if you have these inlets, you'll be fine. The inlets are left a little low. Water always finds the lowest point. You can see that this layer of sand here has a little color in it. The guys are putting the sandy loam down. After they put a layer of the sandy loam down, they can then apply the grass seed. We're going to be able to evaporate a lot of the water out of this detention tank. Building it like this allows for great evaporation.
There used to be a splash block here. The water would come off the downspout and it'd just splash on the splash block. And then this goes right here where the walkout basement is. So what we did is we went ahead and we put a leaf filter on this because we don't want the line to get clogged. And then we can run a camera through it if we want to, if we need to, which we will never need to, but it's there to make us all feel good. Then this right here, there's our inline sediment trap. So that's real easy. That's going to catch all the shingle gravel. We just pop this off with a screwdriver, clean that out once every couple of years. That's more than fine. This system's going to move a lot of water. There's a lot of rooftop. All that second story water comes this way and comes down on the first story. So that one downspout is responsible for a lot of water. We now have contained that water. We're not going to let it go, and we're sending it right to our detention chamber. 60-foot detention chamber, 24-inch diameter. Now over here, the grade runs like this. So we also had the front roof water. The roof runoff from the front of the home was also running to the backyard. So now we're going to run a downspout to where the grade breaks out front, and we're going to take care of that water too. All right, we have everything graded out. We have finished grade. Now we're going to throw some grass seed down. Then we're going to put some shredded straw over top of it. That'll prevent it from drying out. You can see all the grass seed. Did a real nice job. Real nice job. You can see all the grass seed. Yeah, beautiful job. Good coverage. Wherever we put seed, we always add this shredded straw mulch. Works great. When a seed germinates, it dries out immediately. So it needs something there, some kind of mulch, to keep it from drying out. This will biodegrade and it'll feed it as well. You'll end up with a little bit of nitrogen released as that biodegrades, and it biodegrades really slow.
If you found any of this information helpful, give us a thumbs up. It supports the channel. You haven't given it a thumbs up? Are you kidding me? After all that, I at least deserve a thumbs up. All right, everybody. If you have any questions regarding detention tanks, leave them in the comments section. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood, and until the next video.